we've taken to the road. We're on a mission to interview successful entrepreneurs. 90% of startups fail, and we want to help change those stats. First stop, London. Reza from Wisealpha tells us how his startup is democratizing a multi-trillion-dollar market single-handedly in a heavily regulated industry.
Just wanted to start with talking about mentors.
Yeah.
Right, and how important they are, or not, depending on who you are and who you're listening to. So what's your experience with mentors?
Well, I think mentors, generally are very helpful. I mean, you always want to look up to somebody who can give you some guidance about where to go, what to do, how to do things better. I mean, it's very rare that somebody is just an absolute genius and, can just do something and build something, without any advice. But, certainly I find that it's been helpful to have a few people around you who you can, as go-to people, to ask the difficult questions that nobody else will answer, kind of confidentially. And so, having a good mentor circle or people around you, even if it's not a direct mentor, but people you can kind of, throw ideas off of and get honest feedback. The key thing is honest feedback.
It is. That know your industry as well.
Yeah, exactly. Know your industry, and then it gives you a bit of realism as to what you need to do to be better, and how you can actually create something amazing. Because let's face it, most entrepreneurs these days are creating loads of amazing stuff. So.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's interesting because people obviously bounce off their peers a lot, right? And ask questions with their peers. Yeah. Sometimes peers can be a little not want to kick you, maybe when you're down, or not want to...
Don't want to be too honest.
Don't want to be too honest. But if there's someone maybe a level above who's been through it, I think that they're more likely to go, you're doing that completely wrong.
Yeah.
Rather than someone who's
brutal
a peer.
Honesty, as I say.
It's brutal honesty, but it's also sometimes I find it's very helpful to have somebody who is a little bit more senior or older than you, who has a connection or two that can actually open doors for you. Okay. So, that is also important, I think. And so cultivating relationships, but that's been part of being a good entrepreneur, is knowing people, making friends with people, building relationships, and so that you can, they can help you in the future.
You've got 15 in the company now.
Yes.
How long are you going?
We launched in 2016. We've been thinking about it since 2014. So 4.5 years.
Okay. Why, or not why? I was going to ask you more. What have you suffered from, or what has been difficult for you guys that now, but that you wish you knew back then?
Well, we're a fintech, and so we're effectively democratizing a multi-trillion market single-handedly. So it was always going to be a very tough task from the beginning.
Yeah. Especially with a heavy regulated area
exactly.
as well.
So heavy regulation makes life a lot more difficult because you've got to talk to lawyers, you've got to be very careful, you've got to be a bit cautious in the begining.
And it's expensive, obviously, from the beginning.
It's expensive. I can tell you, a lot of money on lawyers. But I think one of the biggest things, and this applies to all startups, doesn't matter whether you're in kind of fintech with different sets of rules and things like that. It's just knowing when to delegate, right? So I think one of the most difficult things for me in the beginning was I wanted to do everything. And like most entrepreneurs, you think you can do it the best. You want to do it because it's your baby. But the sooner you can kind of give up stuff, the quicker you do it, and the quicker you can build like trusted lieutenants in the firm, who you trust. That I think is one of the things that actually, is key to how the speed of the firm develops. I think.
Yeah, you're from this breed of entrepreneur who left the city. Or escape the city, which is a thing. But you decide to make that leap, and I know there's people watching the show who are in full-time jobs. We hear from them. What was it like making that leap? Because you had the idea for a year or two before you even did it. So was that nervous to take the leap? Was it what was?
So I'm generally not one of those people who's nervous about going out on their own. Because I believe in myself, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs will say that. But yes, I started off working at a big bank. Nice job, comfortable, earning a lot of money, but also working crazy hours. Then kind of worked in the asset management industry, which is kind of fun. But really, it's not the same as doing it yourself and like trying to do something cool, and I want to do something cool basically. So that's why I started my own business, and now I love it. 3 years ago it was tough. But it's worth it in the end. If you really believe in yourself, I think it's a great thing to do.
Where do you think, because you've been in co-working spaces and you've worked from those as well. You've met a lot of people, not necessarily in the same industry as you, but also outside. Where do you see some startups going wrong?
I think I think there's a lot of different reasons. You know, I mean, one of the reasons probably similar to mine. You know, you do too much yourself as a founder, and you don't build a team very quickly. The other thing is, you know, sometimes people have in their idea what they think is a great product, but actually, you know, if they'd taken a little bit more advice earlier about, I've got feedback a lot earlier, they might have adapted that to make it better and succeed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but they end up finding that out like a year or 2 years later, and then it takes them longer, and it becomes more difficult to succeed.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously funding's key, right? So, you know, getting the right funding at the right time, knowing the right people, or making the effort to know the right people is also key. And if you don't do that, then you can find it a bit difficult too.
So is that when it comes to delegating, right? Because obviously, if you're going to delegate, it means you have to have staff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And in order to have staff, you have to have money.
That's right.
And if you're not turning over money, you have to have raised money.
Yeah.
So like, is it one of the is it fair to say that some of the earliest things you should spend money on is staff? Or employees?
I think that's right, and I think actually a good way to do it is to have, you know, a good founding group where you cover quite a few bases. You know, one of the mistakes founders often make is that they have just one person who is the founder, you know, and then all the skills rely with you. So it means that everything's held up because you have to do it. But if you have a good team to begin with, who are all incentivized with equity, don't need to be paid as much, you know, because you're a startup, you're all working for the same goal to build the company, grow it, and ultimately reap the rewards. I think that's a sign that those companies are often, often succeed, you know, with a good founder group. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we chat? Obviously, we've got onto the topic of raising money, which does crop up a lot, right? Tell us about raising money, because you obviously worked in the city. You mentioned knowing the right people. I heard you say a second ago, right? And getting in with the right people. Does that mean you network before you need the money? Is that what you're trying to say? You get to know these people before you have to ask them to invest in your company?
It doesn't hurt to kind of build a contact base of people who can help you achieve your dream, you know, helping, you know, fund you. And typically that tends to come from people who know you or have worked with you, or friends, you know, family, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's the standard route. It definitely doesn't hurt, and, you know, I definitely recommend doing it if you've got an idea, to have a think about that. But I think what you've got to do is really hone your idea and your product, you know, in your mind. Show enough to get others to buy in, you know, and I think, you know, that's the key, because once you've shown enough, if you have a really great idea, you'll get funding.
Yeah,
you know.
The idea has to be there first.
Has to be there first. You got to sell it. You know, you got to sell your dream. That's what running a startup is. It's selling a dream, not just to investors, but to people who want to work for you, to customers who want to use your product. And if you can do that well, and some of the best people in the industry, you know, are great salespeople, you know, but they also back it up with a real product.
Yeah.
You know, that's the beauty of it.
And their vision. You know,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of the time you hear that, like, investors invested not only in the company but mainly in the person and the vision that person had.
That's it. Absolutely. You know, how well you project yourself as a founder is absolutely key to you know, whether you're successful, both raising money as well as, you know, getting people to use your product.
Great. Yeah. Sell your dream. Rez, thank you so much for getting in the startup band. Love it.
Fantastic.
Cheers. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Enjoyed the video? Like to see more? Subscribe below.